We are families, we are caregivers, we are parents to children with disabilities and medical complexities. We are rarely familiar. We get together to learn, to relate, and to laugh a lot while we share each other's unique family experiences of raising the rarest of the rare. Our goal is to unite, inspire, educate, and empower people living a rarely familiar life. And we're so glad you're here.
Hi, welcome to Rarely Familiar. This is Jen here with my co-host and friend Haley, where we dig into the realities of raising the rarest of the rare. Today, we're going to get familiar with an organization called Wishes and More, which is an organization that's amazing. It grants wishes to children with terminal and life-threatening illnesses. And so I'm excited to dig into this topic and learn more about it with our guest. But first, Haley and I, let's jump in and do our little check-in. And I know you had a big day yesterday.
It was a long day. We started out at 8 o'clock in the morning. Tim, my husband, Felix, and I headed for the Capitol to St. Paul for Disability Advocacy Day, where there were hundreds of people filling the rotunda. And I almost got teary-eyed. You know, these are all my people all together in one space. And I told Felix right away, I said, you know, you're probably going to be the youngest kid there, you know, because it's on a school day. And of course, we got there and there was another little boy there. So that was kind of fun. Yeah. And good thing, too, because I forgot his feeding pump. But of all places to forget his feeding pump, if you're going to be in a room full of 300 disabled people, chances are one of them's going to have a feeding tube. And so
wow,
we borrowed.
And that's something that you can cross-use. You don't have to like worry about.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's just the pump. It's just,
okay.
Yeah, no, we're not sharing any food or anything. It's just the actual mechanical pump.
I saw photos and it looked like a large turnout. So that's amazing.
Yeah, there was.
What's actually happening? What's the goal of the event?
Bring awareness to disability rights, which are not disability rights, are human rights. Start to talk about some of the policies that are out there. I feel like it was Disability Advocacy Day last year where Felix and I kind of started our advocacy journey. And since then, it's just grown and grown and grown. Yeah, I'm involved in Partners in Policy Making. And just teaching Felix, because I mean, I'm advocating for him right now, but I want to teach him to be a self-advocate, you know, to advocate for his needs. And so we met with representatives, senators to talk about different bills that are out there. And of course, Felix kind of turned the pants off him. And, you know, sometimes you can be really removed if you don't know someone. I mean, in the disability community or somebody living with rare disease, you don't know what you don't know. And so seeing that and actually having him in front of people, like one of the guys we met with, I don't think had ever seen someone use an adaptive augmentative communication device before. And my son uses what we call it his talker. He uses an iPad to communicate. And so seeing how he would just type in what he needed to say because his words are not able to be clearly understood. And so it was just seeing how that works and seeing him. I mean, everybody's just watching him whip around in his power chair. And it felt like a really great event. I think you leave those events with a lot of energy, and it's, you know, you got to keep that momentum going throughout the rest of the year.
I can imagine that an event like that, you walk away inspired and realize how much you're doing, but also how much work there is to be done.
I think we are able to really start to bring some awareness around the issues that the disability community faces, people with rare disease, people with all kinds of chronic illness, that these are not disability rights, these are human rights, access to healthcare and Medicaid and all of these things. So there was a lot of great conversation that came out of that. And it's just a matter of let's keep the momentum going.
Well, good for you. I would have loved to have joined you, but I had a day yesterday, which is one of those days where you just dread and you're like, just get me through it. I had my tax appointment meeting, and then I had my dental appointment. So those are two fun things to do. So I couldn't get out of either one of them, unfortunately. But enough about us. I would love to get into the show and introduce our wonderful guest, Carla Blomberg. She is a founder and the volunteer president currently of Wishes and More. Prior to this role, Carla was a founder of Make-A-Wish of Minnesota, where she served as the volunteer president for 12 years. And during that time, she also served as the president of Make-A-Wish of America and Make-A-Wish International, which very impressive. I'm very excited to hear more about that. Carla is intimately involved in Wishes and More right now, organizing wish experiences, planning fundraising events, and helping with the day-to-day operations. And on top of this, she's a realtor during the day. So she's also blessed with a husband, 3 grown children, and 4 grandchildren. And Carla has dedicated over 40 years of volunteer service to children with terminal and life-threatening conditions. And we are so honored to have you as a guest on our show today. So welcome, Carla.
Thank you, Jen and Haley. Thank you for having me. I'm honored that you wanted me.
Yesterday, so many of those people at the Capitol, you may have had a hand in their life or been a part of their story, your organization.
Possible. Certainly possible.
So I have a personal connection with Wishes and More, as my son Julian is a recipient of a wish. And back in the fall of 2020, he received the wish of a tandem electric bike. And I remember vividly the day that the big semi truck arrived in our alley, and there was this huge box that they pulled out. And it was like wrapped in plastic. And inside you could see through was this bike. And Julian was just like jumping up and down. And it was very exciting. And so this organization is near and dear to me. And, you know, I can attest to just how amazing it is to receive a wish, because it just can change your life. I mean, the freedom that Julian has had going on bike rides with me since he can't pedal is just really been a wonderful gift to our family. So thank you for that. I like to start off the show by asking a question, which is, can you tell us about what your tie-in is to the disability community, if there is one?
Yes, there is. Some of it is just simply with my 40 plus years. Actually, it was 20 years with Make-A-Wish, not 12, that I served as a president.
20 years. Goodness.
So
Okay.
serving the community of kids with terminal and life-threatening conditions has been my life. It's not like I can say this is something that is a part of weekends or nights. It's my life. It's what it is. Wishes and More is my life. And being totally immersed in something, as all of you, all of the parents, all of those who are living with disabilities, you are immersed 24/7. And it's hard for you sometimes to understand where somebody doesn't see this, somebody doesn't recognize it, somebody doesn't hold the door, seeing that I need some help, because they don't live it and they haven't experienced it and they haven't tuned themselves into it. I live Wishes and More. It's with me all the time. I think of every opportunity, everybody that I meet. It's not that I consciously do it, it's just there. I see it as an opportunity for a donor. I see it as an opportunity for somebody who qualifies. I see it as an opportunity for somebody who might be a volunteer. And it's the same thing what all of you do in having the world understand what disability means. Can you see it? No, you can't always see the disability somebody carries. And so you may feel that they should know, but they're not tuned into it. It's just hasn't been brought into their lives. My children grew up knowing, because it was the life I led. It was what they were immersed in. And so they are adults that recognize you've got to think about the people around you. And do you need to run? Get up from the table and go and open that door because you see somebody approaching it. Is it just giving a hand to somebody that looks like they're struggling to get up from the booth? I mean, it's just should always be there. And it's very, very hard to learn. So it needs to start very young.
Inclusion,
It does.
it's not even necessarily helping, it's just including people and, making sure that everybody has an opportunity to be a part of the community and, lending a hand when you can.
But I feel like that I need to say something when I see it, and I do, because somebody should. But it's like the simple things of watching. If somebody is talking to someone with a second language, they'll raise their voice rather than slow down their speech. I see the same thing with the kids that have got disabilities. People talk to them by getting louder, as having a louder voice will mean they understand you. It's silly, but it's the nature.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, in life, we don't know if we don't have exposure to it. We need that moment. We need that person to go, ah, and get that aha moment where you see it and you have that connection. So, okay, Carla, so with Make a Wish, you were involved in that first. And I think Haley and I were talking about this.
Yeah, I didn't understand the organization that I've always heard of and that I grew up with is, the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I didn't hear of Wishes and More until Jen and her wish. And so can you tell me the difference between those two organizations?
Well, just kind of a quick background lesson.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
1982, I was part of the individuals who got together and founded Make-A-Wish,
Okay.
Make-A-Wish of Minnesota. And it was truly an unheard of concept. One of my roles in those initial stages was to get people to, quote unquote, buy into the organization, to be a donor or a supporter, and even going to the doctors and seeing, would you send kids to us? What would you do? How would you get involved? It was a very foreign concept. If you were going to give money, you gave it to something that helped the masses. You had research, or that was the goal. So an organization that was supporting singular kids or singular families and a wish wasn't going to cure them. So why would you do it? Well, we proved them wrong. We started the organization. Make-A-Wish of America was then formed in different places across the country. And I got involved on that level, and I served 3 terms as their president of Make-A-Wish of America in its growth. And then it was happening in other countries, hearing what we're doing. And it was kind of a loose organization. So we formalized it to be an actual formal international organization. And then I became their president for 3 terms and served on their boards. So certainly a lot of early stage development and understanding of the needs and the difference a wish would make. It has truly given some children and some families the strength to go on because of what their desire was to have their wish come true, or pull them out of an extreme depressed state for what they were going through. I mention that history because as we got down the road, recognizing as a national organization, it has to be the same every place. You can't have McDonald's taste different in Florida than it does in Minnesota. And in Minnesota, having been a volunteer with a very supportive board who also are volunteers, we recognize that the Midwest has some things that are different than New York City or Miami. And we did a wish for a young man, and his wish was to go hunting with his dad in Alaska. He approved that wish, and it was a perfectly legal Minnesota wish. From my perspective, if a kid's wish is something to do with the dad or a grandparent or a family member, that's even more touching than any, to spend that time together. So it was really an eye-opener for us in Minnesota. We wanted to start an organization where we knew the gaps, fill all those gaps. So in 2004, we got together, we talked about what those might be. We identified that there were things beyond just a wish. So for example, we decided that we wanted to be able to have the latitude to give money in a financial grant to parents who lose a child who didn't have the experience of a wish, who died before the wish was completed or was able to have it happen. So we knew that that was important, and it was something we could not do at Make-A-Wish. We also knew that we wanted to do a broader age group. So instead of 2.5 years to the 18th birthday, we wanted to also support those from birth to 19 and cover that age group. We wanted them to feel like having a wish wasn't the last thing that was going to happen. It was just something that was going to happen at this dark time.
Just
or
making
the
a
celebration-
memory. I
Right.
know with some of those younger kids, if you know that they're going to have a terminal illness and those critical years to build those memories,
Exactly. And photos, to have these photos that wouldn't be
Mhm.
taken. So we decided that we were going to have a scholarship program. So we have our Scholarship of Hope program. So every single kid, Julian included, we put aside $2,000 for any higher education when they graduate from high school.
Oh, wow.
So it's any higher education. It can be special needs higher education. It's anything with the tuition that is accredited. And so we put that money aside for every single wish kid. We do an analysis and audit it every year, but if we shut our doors tomorrow, that money is there as we promised. So we do scholarships,
Wow.
we do memorials, and we do wishes. And more is to have the community have the opportunity to support a family because they have the ability to do it. For example, if you had 4 tickets to the circus or 2 tickets to the Twins game, and now you're not able to go, instead of giving it to a friend or not going at all, you
Right.
can contact us and then we forward that and have a
Oh, that's
program
great.
that distributes it to families, not just families right now, but families as long as they're in our system, we never shut them out of the system. So it
I
could
love
be
that.
somebody we did a wish for who passed away 10 years ago. They're still in our system and part of that allocation if it's something that they're interested in. So it's very well-rounded. And the argument on when I say we do it from infancy,
Mhm.
question on, well, what would a baby be asking for? And
Mhm.
it's our mission to the wish of the child, not the wish of the brother or the dad or grandma. It's the wish of the child. I have truly sat next to older children with brain tumor that can't communicate. I've held the hand of a 6-year-old who I planned a party with her by her blinking and telling me what she liked as I tried to get this party planned. Do you want chocolate cake? Do you want white cake? And planned this whole party with her blinking. So believing that that was her wish, absolutely. If somebody who tells me or comes to the organization and shares with us that their 6 months old wish is to be able to fly grandma in, we think, now, would this 6-month-old benefit from this wish? Would, if she or he could communicate, would they say that? Absolutely. Would they say, I want to go to Disney World? No.
Do you ever get wishes that are like maybe a little bit more intangible? Do you ever have these kids that say, I just want to be included, or do you ever get kids that say, I just need a friend?
No, no, I haven't had somebody say that.
I mean, like Felix wants a cell phone tower. Yesterday when we were at the Capitol, I would like to be a cell phone tower owner. So if you can make that happen.
It sounds like you're pretty generous with when a wish is asked.
Mm.
You will appease it to a certain degree. I mean, I can imagine that it would be very difficult. Do you have a committee that sits down and you share all the wishes and then there's certain criteria that you
We do
check
it
off?
once we do the wish interview. We send 2 volunteers who are trained to meet with the wish child. And in that interview, we ask for 3 wishes. And we ask for 3 for a couple of reasons. Whatever wish we approve, we have to have the authorization from the physician that the child can do it.
Right.
That we're not approving something that would be harmful to the child. For example, a little girl who wanted to go to a dude ranch and she was struggling with a brain tumor and the doctor saying, I'm just not comfortable for being on horses. So then when we go back to the child is, guess what? We're going to do this, whatever wish number 2 was that we
Sure.
talked about. So we ask for 3 wishes, and in that process is how we help them think them through what they could actually be. I have been told by a child that they wish they weren't going to die. And
Mm.
I just took his hand and said, I have the same wish. I wish
Mm.
that too. But I don't know that I can do anything about that. And I don't think that Wishes and More can do anything about that. But we can do some things and talked about other things. So it's in that opportunity, we tell them that every wish in the world, every single thing you could possibly wish for is going to be under one of 5 categories. It's going to be, I wish I could go. I wish I could be. I wish I could be a police officer. I wish I could be a fireman. I wish I could be, would be a second one. The third one would be, I wish I could have. I wish I could have a computer that would let me do all of my video games. The next one would be, I wish I could meet. Oh, I wish I could meet my hero on whoever my hero might be, or I wish I could be a race car driver, or I wish I could meet a race car driver. And then the last one is, I wish I could give. I wish that I could give this to something or somebody. An example of that is we had a girl who was in high school on the cross country team in Cottage Grove, and she was disabled as well as dealing with what she was dealing with medically. But she did cross country and she always came in far last, but her team waited for her. And so her wish was to have equipment that she could give to the high school that would be training equipment for the cross country team that would last for future cross country teams.
Mm.
So we had,
That's such a great, it's such a wow to have a young person make a wish for someone else
I
as part
know.
of her wish. That's pretty impressive.
It is. So
Wow.
when we're with these kids and we're doing the interview and we give all of those 5 examples and have them see if they could think about something in each of those categories. A heartbreaker for me, it was a 17-year-old young man from White Bear. He's a wrestler and he was having headaches, and he was at a wrestling tournament on a Saturday and complained about a headache that was just way past headache level. And they said, just drink some water. He took second place in his tournament. Drink some water, stay off of the video games, get a good night's sleep. And the next day he wasn't any better. And mom is a nurse at Regions. Dad brought him into urgent care. The next thing they know, within that same day, they were at Regions and he was being wheeled into surgery and had a massive brain tumor. His
Hmm.
brain tumor is one that he was given 9 to 12 months. And now I'm meeting this 17-year-old boy about 2 months after this whole diagnosis and talking to him about what his wish might be. When I asked him what he wanted, as we went through each of them, and I said, the give, is there one that's something you would like to give? He said, well, I want to give my parents something if I die, but I'm already working on that. Can you imagine? I mean, I couldn't even turn to look at the parents
Wow.
at all because of them hearing that and what was happening with that. But the point is that we go through them and help them think more realistically about what we actually can do and have come true.
So if a child can't talk, so
Yep,
you
that was
know,
exactly my
yeah,
question.
because I was thinking back to, I'm like, oh, we didn't have the interview like that. It was just me because Julian doesn't talk. So then I suppose parents, then they would come up with ideas and you would talk to the parent and figure out what made the most sense.
And again, the doctors or the referring
Right.
medical personnel on helping think because they know the child and they know the child's capacities
Right.
on if there is something that could be done for them.
It's heavy work that you do. How do you kind of take care of yourself as you walk away from this in the evening and just how do you recharge to go back the next day? Because it feels heavy. And I suppose the wishes probably counter that to a degree, but is there any other way that you can kind of get through this? Because this is real
It-
stuff that you're dealing with.
It is heavy. As I said, it's my life, and I am so blessed with my family, my friends, my occupation, the people
Mhm.
that I work with at Wishes and More. The blessings so far outweigh what it is that it almost is an obligation. I'd have a more difficult time unwinding by not doing what we do than by doing it because it needs to be done. We can't necessarily change an outcome, but we can give this incredible break, this incredibly exciting opportunity. How can you not? So is it heavy? Yes. But more than that, it's uplifting.
Yeah, the benefit outweighs the,
Right. I mean, certainly I have tears and I have sadness. And when I get in the car, there's been times when I haven't been able to hold back the tears after what I just did or who I just saw. But then I flip immediately the switch to, I'm so glad they contacted us because we're going to do something so special.
and
Mhm.
you talk about, we go to doctors and we're always trying to fix things and make things better. And, the physical help that you provide for a child with medical complexity. But the thing that you can't, do in a doctor's office is bring joy. And that joy and the laughter, I mean, what's the phrase? Like, laughter is the best medicine. I mean, it's true. There is so much more to life than, all these appointments and all the, the advocacy work and all the, I think just experiencing joy and creating memories and all of that, I think it's just so valuable to the life experience of every single one of these kids that
Well,
you're
not only the kids, but the family. I mean,
in the family.
we did. So Andy was a 12-year-old that met 2 years ago, I think it was, and went out to his home in Ham Lake and lived on a good sized lot.
Mhm.
In the backyard were some woodlands, and his wish was for motorized track chairs. So
Oh, we call them tank chairs.
yeah, so his brother, who has one and had one for many, many years. His brother was in I think he was like
Yeah.
19, 20.
Yeah.
And so when they would go to the grandparents' farm, Andy wasn't able to get out into the field in his wheelchair, but his brother was. So Andy is suddenly able to be doing something that he wasn't able to do. Now, the track chair is a very, very expensive piece
Oh
of
my gosh. Yeah.
Wishes and More does not provide medical equipment. So, for example, we wouldn't provide a wheelchair, but the track chair, and knowing that Andy could go in the backyard instead of just be on the concrete patio, but he could go back, and for me to look back there and see those woods and that big expansive backyard, and to picture his grandparents' farm, and to think of him chasing cows in a tractor. I mean, how cool is that? So Wishes and More was not able to do the whole thing, but the family recognized how much we could participate, the connections we could have, the experience we would have in the presentation. It's not just going and buying something and having it just arrive, but that whole presentation, the experience of the wish interview that Andy had to be able to communicate in his, he also wasn't totally verbal, but he was able to communicate by lighting up and with a lot of excitement, which you can both relate to. And on Julian, who could look at Julian jumping up and down when he saw that at Withrow, all of the people at Withrow, when he had that
Right.
presentation.
Yes. I was going to say the presentation is
Right.
so much a part of it. So we went to this event and we were presented with the wish on stage, and there was an MC and friends and family were invited, and we didn't know they were coming. So it was a big surprise to have them there, and there were signs, and it was just, the presentation of it was pretty
And for
equally exciting.
everybody in that audience, Jen, not only your family that was there and your friends that were there, but all of those that were total strangers that came to the car and on tractor show to come and walk around. And then they see this makeshift stage and the mic starts, and then they just see what they see without any other information. How could they not have their day made by seeing Julian jumping up and down, and his hands were in the air when he said,
Yes.
and so it's not just the child, it is the family and it's the world around them. As a low estimate, we assume there's at least 100 people for every kid, whether it's their church or their synagogue, it's their medical care team, it's their friends, it's their family, it's their schoolmates, it's the
Right.
the
100.
members of the employers that when they know that a child has been hit with some devastating condition and there's nothing they can do, and then they hear this good news that they're going to get this wish, and this is what happened. It makes everybody's day. It's just how big of an impact. It's not that, is it an impact? Well, if you're not impacted by hearing some great news of a kid getting their wish, you're not going to be impacted by anything, in my opinion, that you deserve in this world.
Very true. So, can you tell us, how do you get the money for this? Who are the funders? Who are the donors? Is this a lot of work? Are there volunteers who are reaching out to community members?
We are working on it all the time. We get no government funding. It's all simply by what we put together as fundraisers internally. or those that will put on fundraisers on our behalf. Some neighborhood might have a garage sale and decides that they're going to have all the proceeds going to Wishes and More. We've got a former Wish kid, and he's got a smile that just knocks you off your feet. And his grandparents have vegetable farming and does some selling of these vegetables. And then he and his brother come in and give us this little portion of what they raise. It's any level.
Fully philanthropic funded,
Exactly.
right? Yeah. Oh, wow.
Exactly.
And that speaks to the name recognition that Wishes and More has and the impact. You were talking about 100 people involved, and like just being at the Capitol yesterday, it was like I was thinking about all these people, and we're struggling. We're always struggling to get more funding for care, to get more equipment so we can participate in the world. And it's the constant fight, it's the constant struggle. But to have this spark of joy is just everything.
It is. And it's 24/7 raising money because you never lighten up. And we run very lean as an organization. We have a small staff of really incredible people that aren't doing it because it's their job. They're doing it because they want to do the job that they do here. The average Wish cost is over $10,000, and plus what we give in our memorial grants and in our scholarships. So it takes a community, but we want to make sure people aren't confused because Make-A-Wish having the Wish name and the national recognition, Wishes and More is for kids who live in Minnesota, or treated in Minnesota. So we're exclusive to Minnesota. So there's always kids from Iowa or Wisconsin or the Dakotas because they're treated across the border here in Minnesota. So basically, if they're treated in Minnesota or if they live in Minnesota, qualify.
Oh, wow.
And to have a confirmation from their physician, their medical team, that they have a terminal or a life-threatening condition. That's the only criteria. So it doesn't make any difference if we went to a home that was an estate on Lake Minnetonka, or if we were in an area of extreme poverty. It has nothing to do with the Wish.
A disability does not discriminate, based on what family you were born into. It's just, it happened.
I would imagine that you have to turn away quite a few people.
Oh.
If you have 100 kids asking for a wish, you can't grant a wish to all the kids.
No. We never have denied a kid.
Really?
Never,
Okay.
never will deny a kid. No. If they qualify on the conditions that I just shared with you, we will have a wish happen. So no,
Wow.
we would never turn anybody away, and there's not a waiting list. The wait is often because, like your example, we had to wait until the chair was built, until the chair arrived. But there may be children who have started the application process and then put it on hold because they're in treatment.
Sure.
Or they want to wait till they're older. But the timeline is never a delay on our side. It's really based on just the child and the family situation and what the wish might be.
One of my friends that I was working with, she has a kid that was born with a disability, and then, her daughter got leukemia. And it was just like, do you ever have, siblings in the same family? A lot. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
And that just breaks my
genetic-
heart. Like, it's
Yeah.
as if you're not already, then it's like the 1-2 punch.
Andy, the one I just told you about, and his brother.
Yeah.
They-
Okay.
They both, theirs was a genetic issue. So yes, they both qualified and they both would qualify. And then we have some of those unbelievably remarkable foster families that have taken in these kids to give them the best life possible. So I just can't even imagine, but boy, is there a place in heaven for these people. So we may do a wish for 3 or 4 of them in a family of 6 or 9 because of what they've done. And what we do is also something that there's things that we can do that money can't buy. So when I said that, if you imagined driving up to a home that you feel, well, they can certainly take this child to Disney World. That's never a consideration because they can't. And no family that doesn't come through an accredited wish organization can have the experience that we provide. Disney is way too large to, they can't do it. So they have narrowed their focus to send it through Give Kids the World, who would do the narrowing in the focus for them. So the compassion program is that our families all stay at a very special place called Give Kids the World. And when they go, it's a week's vacation. It's got a pizza parlor and an ice cream shop, and everything is free, and video games, and they've got a fishing pond that they stock, and every villa is 2 bedrooms, totally accessible, 2 bathrooms, a kitchenette area. The swimming pool has the heating elements for when the kids wheel out of their wheelchair from the swimming pool, they can go into the heated area. You can't go there no matter how much money you have. You can't go to Disney and wear the button that identifies you as being with Give Kids the World and possibly being pulled out of the crowd for the parade or having special attention by a character. That is something that is very exclusive to accredited wish granting organizations, which we are.
That's wonderful. I have a girlfriend who's fairly wealthy, and I feel like she's often missing out on these kind of opportunities because she dismisses everything and says, well, I won't qualify. So that's great to know that these are
There's no bearing
options for everyone. That's
right.
Is there a wish, Carla, that stands out to you that was really bizarre or funny or just kind of offbeat? That's not traditional. That was just like, whoa, okay. You know, like Felix wants a cell phone tower. Well, that's a little bizarre, you know, in terms of
Maybe wait until he's out of the space, hopefully.
yeah, grant that. But something that you granted that was kind of outside the box.
Well, outside the box, like a kid who wanted to meet Jackie Chan some years ago, you know, and he happened to be in a location in the Philippines. They said, if you can get him here on this date, I will meet with him. And it was like, knocked down all the barriers and made it happen. So it's whatever we can and work very hard at doing.
Beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. Well, I'm so impressed with what you're doing. I love the aspect that it's not just tangible gifts that are given and wishes, but also experiences. I know that when I go on the bike with Julian, the idea of bringing joy to him is real. The idea of bringing joy to myself is real. And also the joy that other people express as we pass by. Because when he's moving, he sings, you know, he hums his songs, his arms go, and people just stop and they look and they look, and they're the biggest smile. So we're constantly having a stream of smiles following us as we ride down the river road. So, you know, you touch many, many people's lives, and I just want to thank you for all the wonderful work you're doing personally and for the community. So hopefully Felix has a wish coming soon, Haley. Start thinking.
We'll see. We definitely qualify. Yeah, if we were to ask him today, it would 100% be, I want a cell phone tower in my backyard. No joke.
That's lovely.
Well, I don't know.
Well, Carla, you may have one of these out of the box wishes coming your way.
You never know. We throw a little magic into every one, sometimes more than others. So you never know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, you'll hear from me in the future for sure. But thank you for all that you do for this community and the kids and making memories and spreading joy. It clearly has a ripple effect beyond probably what you even realize.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you liked today's topic or have comments, questions, or thoughts on what else you would like us to cover, please visit rarelyfamiliar.com or connect with us on all the social channels. Resources will be listed in our show notes, and we'll be back next time with another discussion around living life successfully with rare medical complexities. Thanks for joining us on the journey.